Alright, you ready to play? Yeah, you can start if you want. Okay, but when you lose, just don't get angry, alright? Yeah. Just so you know, I have been practicing, so who says I'm gonna lose? Yeah, whatever. What the heck? These movements. I've never seen anything like them. These inputs, they're physically impossible to do. I gotta see his inputs. I gotta see them. What? It was an auto combo? Why does that option even exist? How are these inputs even possible in an auto combo? I hate this game now. Today is a special day. It's been a year since I posted my first fighting game controls video, and the amount of support that video got is remarkable. I am very grateful for each and every one of you that watched that video. Therefore, I'm making a second video on that topic. Last time, I talked about the general idea of the topic. So today, I want to go a little more in depth about it. Also, I've included some comments from the last video, and we'll go over them near the end of this video.
Why did I only briefly talk about the topic of movement in my last video? Movement is the single most important aspect to a fighting game. It controls the pace of the game, controls the amount of hits you can do on a combo, and what would be the point of a game if movement was slippery and hard to control. It's very important that there is very little input lag in all moves in the game, but the same applies to movement. If it took a whole second to read the input of wanting to move left, that would demotivate you to even continue playing the game. Compare Street Fighter 3 Third Strike's movement to Dragon Ball FighterZ movement. Third Strike is like the definitive version of what a Street Fighter game should move like. Snappy controls, not very slow, not too fast, easy on the player, not an extensive amount of options, which makes it easy for anyone to understand. It's pretty basic, but it's also everything a Street Fighter game really needs. Dragon Ball FighterZ, on the other hand, has more options that you won't typically see in some fighting games. Many anime fighters, including this one, have a double jump and air dashes. But what makes Dragon Ball FighterZ special is the super dash and the vanish. Both allow you to continue combos like no other fighting game allows you to do. Not only that, but you can call in a character to extend the combo, who, you guessed it, comes in using the super dash.
Hey. If this isn't a clear example of controlling the pace of the game, then I don't know what is.
There is no game that heavily relies on movement more than a platform fighter. And Tekken. Platform fighters actually go crazy with their movement. They aren't even close to slow paced, and since there can be more than one opponent at once, they need you to move all around the stage with no invisible wall restrictions. What you would see in a lot of them is the option to fast fall, the ability to dash in the air, kind of like anime fighters and their air dashes, double or multiple jumps, wall jumps, and the list goes on. Don't even get me started with Melee and its crazy movement. Since I mentioned Tekken, I might as well talk about it. 3D fighters need you to move around a 3D area. I mentioned this in my last video, but not only are left and right an option, but forwards and backwards are also an option. Jumping isn't a super viable option, unless it's the early Tekken games and you just jump super high. Movement is also important in that game for you to dodge attacks. I'm pretty sure that dodging in Tekken is much better than blocking. Mashing is a strange topic to talk about. I want to talk about two different types of mashing specifically. Let's call them strategic mashing and mashing. Starting with strategic mashing, this is kind of a viable option where the person is pressing a bunch of buttons and they're working. There may be thought to it, but it would be pretty low thought into it. Pretty much, you're throwing a bunch of moves as fast as you can. It can overwhelm your opponent if they don't know how to counterplay. It's my favorite way to play Tekken, just so you know. Seeing someone struggle online to buttons I don't even know I'm pressing is pretty funny to me.
Admit it, you lost to someone playing like this once. Because I definitely did.
Now mashing is where the game actually needs you to mash. There are some examples, but this is pretty rare to see in a fighting game. To be honest, I'm not sure about typical 2D fighters. However, I do know examples in Smash. When you get grabbed, sleeped, dizzied, or buried, you have to mash to try and get out. I know there are people who absolutely hate this feature, but this is the most genius feature ever thought of. You may have not thought of it this way, but this feature resembles the struggle of trying to get out of the situation you're in. When you're lower in percent, you don't struggle as much since the character's not tired. But in higher percents, more mashing is needed, kind of resembling the tiredness of a character. I love the very idea and appreciate it more than I used to before I thought about it this way. There may be more examples of this type of mashing, but they would most likely resemble the struggle. Now this may be pretty controversial, but I do not like auto combos. Auto combos are pretty self-explanatory. You repeatedly press one button and you perform a combo from it. Sometimes it's made to make a game simple, but other times it's there just to help beginners. It's a cool idea to help beginners this way, but does it really help? I don't know if fighting games were always meant to be difficult, but I feel like the whole charm of fighting games is to get better at something over time. Sure, the skill gap will be huge from a top player to a beginner, but would auto combos help with that? Remember the strategic mashing point I made not too long ago? Well, sometimes I want to mash one button on KOF 15 to make sure I hit it, but it ends up coming out as an auto combo. It may be a problem only for me since I like pressing buttons a lot, but there are some different types of auto combos. A game like DBZ Budokai has this feature to make the game simple. Everyone has their own combo, but it depends on the order of the buttons you press. BlazBlue Central Fiction has an option to either auto combo or manually do combos. I think this is a good workaround since the players who know what they're doing would choose manual, while the others would choose simple. Dragon Ball Fighterz has auto combos, but they also allow you to make a combo using them. This is also not a terrible idea since a beginner would just use the auto combos while the more experienced players would mix them up and make a bigger combo out of it. Okay, in this segment, I'd like to focus on some comments that were left on the last video. I appreciate all the feedback from that video, so I might as well talk about some of them that I found interesting to talk about. This first one talks about a mistake I made on the video about Under Night in Birth being an ARC game. I already knew that ARC didn't make the game and just published it, but it sounded like I was suggesting they were the ones who made it. I apologize for this minor mistake and hope this made you feel better. French Bread made my second favorite anime fighter, Melty Blood type Lumina. The next comment mentioned something interesting about command normals, and Under Night in Birth not really having auto combos. My B. Yes, command normals are a thing and I actually learned about them by playing KOF. These are basically additional normal moves that can only happen when certain requirements are met. Most of the time you would just need to press a direction and a certain button, but sometimes it would require you to be in the air, or close by, or just some sort of requirement. These are typically moves that would help with combos, but not all of them are as useful as others. This final comment talks about how not all characters need to be campy in terms of charge characters. That is 100% true as that is not the case for some characters. Actually, the person who replied to that comment sums it up pretty well, mentioning that Street Fighter mainly does that with Guile, while a character like Leona and Hydrant from KOF, alongside Leo from Guilty Gear would play more aggressively. There are many more types of controls that I still haven't talked about and may not even know about. I always enjoyed talking about certain aspects of fighting games and would love to continue this topic in the future.
And there you have it. Fighting games all have their own identities, and the main thing that keeps that true is how each game has its own controls. I really do enjoy making these videos, and I could really go on and on about this subject. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, and if this video gets enough support, I'll make a part 3. Again, I really am grateful for all the support in the last video, and I really do hope that this video made a good sequel for the last video. Now, can anyone please tell me how to disable auto combos?